Okay, a Greek formation of soldiers that used their shields to form a wall is called a what? Say it again. Phalanx? Okay, want to see the cool tool? I don't use Active Inspire much anymore, but I got mad Active Inspire skills. Okay, famous temple of Athena, right above Amy's head. Careful, it's going to fall down on you. It's falling apart. Parthenon. The Parthenon. I thought you were going to go for Panagonia there. Okay, Anti-Persian alliance, later the anti-Sparta alliance is what? The Delian League. That was pretty close. I'll take it. A fortified hill in the center of a Greek city-state where one might find the Parthenon, per se. Katie? The what? Acropolis. Acropolis. Athenian system for removing a bad politician from office. We have ostracism. Perfect. Site of a devastating defeat for the Persians, or a 26.2 mile long race, a marathon. Because Philippides ran 26.2 miles to deliver a message, and then he was given a message and ran 26.2 miles back, and then he died. During the Peloponnesian War, who paid for the Spartan navy? The Persians. The chief forehead Greek god is Zeus. That's the easy one. You got that one right. And a polis controlled by one man who took control. Tyranny. I know it's weird because a tyranny is led by a tyrant. Welcome to English. A tyrant. Legendary blind poet is whom? Homer. I thought he's a guy who worked at a nuclear power plant and liked donuts. Oh yeah, that one. Capital of Alexander's empire. Babylon. Babylon. He run, jump, throw, wrestle, hurl. Olympics. Okay, these are all things you would do in fighting as well. He advocated rest, hygiene, and a good diet. Hippocrates. Hippocrates. Which is funny because it's Hippocrates, yet you take the Hippocratic Oath. Which, by the way, is like the last question. Mathematician who explained right triangles? Pythagoras. Pythagoras. Okay, remember the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared? We had a right triangle on the board the other day. It was a 3, 4, 5 right triangle, right? The sum of the squares of the bases equals the square of the hypotenuse. That's your math lesson for today. Oh, oops, sorry. Student of Plato, tutor of Alexander the Great is Aristotle. So it's Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and then Alexander the Great. Okay, Socrates is first, Plato second, Aristotle third. Site of the Minoan civilization and the Mycenaean civilization as well. Crete. Philosopher who was sentenced to death. Socrates. Author of the Republic. In fact, it's often referred to simply as Plato's Republic. Write down. Okay, public square where meetings took place in a Greek city-state was called a what? Agora. Well, I have a big long thing there, don't I? Okay. Words such as police and politics derive from the Greek word polis, meaning what? Polis, okay, which means city-state. Polis means city-state. Okay. Government run by a small group of wealthy people is an oligarchy. Okay. Spartan society was notable for what? Okay, because military and athletic ability makes you probably a good warrior, right? Oh, look, there it is. I didn't want you to feel left out. Athens was defeated during the Peloponnesian War by an alliance led by the Spartans, okay? And remember, their navy is paid for by the Persians. In most Greek city-states before 500 BC, citizenship and voting rights were usually extended to whom? Male landowners, which means you had to be male, first of all, of a certain age, and own property. Sounds a lot like how things used to be in our country when we first start. Moving on. Okay. The period from 461 BC to 429 BC is called the Golden Age of Athens because during this time, what happened? Yes, their greatest achievements, arts, science, and by sciences, they're talking about like mathematics as well. Okay. Despite its mild climate, transportation and communication were difficult because it has a very mountainous, rugged terrain. Okay, remember I talked about how with Puerto Rico, to go from one side of the island to the other, because of the mountains in between, you drive around and it's faster. It's easier for them to sail from one city-state to another than trying to march there. Okay, unless they're on a coastal area and you can go by. When the Persians invading, they're sending fleets of troops over. When the Persian or the Peloponnesian War is going on, they're sending fleets of troops. Citizens of democratic Athens favored lotteries over elections because why? Dominated by the wealthy or the well-spoken, which is to say, wealthy people can afford to run the campaigns to get their message out to win the election. Okay. Lotteries meant that all eligible citizens' name went into a hat and we drew them out, and that became the assembly for that year. And then it wasn't meant to be a profession in their opinion. That was part of your social contract of your rights, was to serve in the best interest of the people, not the ones who voted for you. A major factor in the Greeks' victories in the Persian Wars, those city-states working together. Remember I made that connection to the tribal lords in Afghanistan fought among themselves. The Russians took over. They work together with us. They overthrow the Russians. The Russians leave. They go back to fighting amongst themselves. The Taliban comes in. We come help them again, and they drive the Taliban out. We basically mostly leave. They go back to fighting amongst themselves. Now the Taliban's involved again. Farmers on the Greek mainland could concentrate on growing export crops because what? The colonies. So those colonies back in Ionia, which is today modern-day Turkey, and those other places, as far away as Italy and other places in North Africa, are growing wheat and stuff and sending it back home to the home city-states. Okay, two Aegean civilizations that preceded the Greeks. The Minoans and the Mycenaeans, or Mycenaeans, either one is correct. Okay, again, that's on that island of Crete. Minoans and Mycenaeans. Just write them in the box. The early Greek plays tended to be what? Oh, that's awesome. I feel good. They got that one. In first hour, it was a tragedy that no one knew the answer. The architecture of the Parthenon is notable for what? Okay, so literally the proportions, for every horizontal foot that they go over, the rise is a certain amount as well. And it's called what they call the golden mean, the ratio of rise over run. Okay, and we do that even in housing today. In fact, if you get into architecture, you start building houses, a typical ranch style house is built what they call a 12-4. So for every 12 foot, it went up 4. Okay, and it was that was sort of the thing. This golden mean, this ratio that they have, is something they did in terms of that set the angles for all their buildings. And this perspective, even if you were to look at that, the stairs, which from a distance look like they're completely flat across there, are actually kind of flare up at the ends slightly. So that when you view it from a distance, they look like they're kind of falling off from perspective. That's the level of architectural skill that these guys have. And the Romans will go way beyond them. Okay, that mix of Greek and Middle Eastern culture that formed during and after Alexander is called what? Hellenistic. So Hellenist means Greek. Hellenistic means Greek-like. The Macedonian king who conquered most of Greece by 338 BC was Philip II. Oh, I forgot to fix the thing on this one. Philip II. The hide thing isn't working on that one. So Philip II. So 13 is just Philip II. Moving on here. Okay, these are the ones take a little bit of space to kind of type in here your answers because all the following are true of the Greek Olympics. Okay, women couldn't watch. Only men participated. Later on, Sparta, because they wanted their women to be fit as well, would have women's Olympics. They honored Zeus and no team events. Don't try to type all this stuff or write all this word for word. No team events, honored Zeus, women couldn't watch. A teacher using the Socratic method would question students to defend their answers. Oops, there it goes. You know, they ask a question and it has explain your answer or explain why you think so. And the following is true of Aristotle. Okay, he wrote about political science or he wrote about politics. He wrote Historia, an investigation of the Persian Wars. And as I shows on the board still, an ideal government would include monarchy, aristocracy, and democracy, or some elements thereof. And if you look at our form of government, as we said, monarchy kind of like our executive branch, aristocracy like the Senate, and the constitutional part being like the democracy part being like our House of Representatives. One more slide. After defeating the Persians at Granicus River and Issus, Alexander and his troops turned south towards Egypt. There it is. Okay. At his trial, Socrates, okay, who was accused again of corrupting the youth of Athens, said the search for truth was most important. That's why he proposed paying a small fine and agreed to drink the hemlock and kill himself. Code of conduct still practiced by modern doctors was developed by Hippocrates. It's called the Hippocratic Oath. And oligarchy I've actually put back in there, but it's still at the end of my thing here. So you did it twice.